Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. I am going there to prepare a place for you. John 14:1-2. Imagine seeing heaven the way Jesus described it, more real than anything here on earth. Streets gleaming like gold, endless peace, and a place where everything broken finally gets made whole. What he shared about this place could change how you see everything. Jesus often described heaven in parables, using simple yet profound stories to reveal its mysteries. One of the most captivating? The parable of the mustard seed. He said, "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it's the smallest of all seeds, when it grows, it becomes the largest of garden plants." Think about that. Something so tiny, almost invisible, transforming into something immense and life-changing. Just like that seed, heaven begins small within us, through a spark of faith, a whisper of hope, or a single decision to follow Jesus. Over time, it grows, shaping our lives and touching the world around us. When Jesus spoke of heaven, he didn't just describe a place far off in the future. He showed us how it starts right here, growing like that tiny mustard seed in the soil of our hearts. But here's the thing. What grows from that seed isn't just for us. Like a great tree providing shelter for birds, the kingdom of heaven is meant to overflow into the world around us, offering peace, hope, and transformation. And that's not the only time Jesus painted a picture of heaven. He talked about it as a grand wedding banquet where everyone is invited, but not everyone shows up. In Matthew 22, Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son." But what happens next reveals something shocking. Guests refusing the king's invitation, some too caught up in their daily lives to care, others even hostile to the messengers. Yet the story takes a powerful turn. The king sends his servants to gather everyone, good and bad, from the streets, filling the hall with unexpected guests. The message? Heaven isn't reserved for an exclusive few, but offered freely to those willing to accept the invitation. But there's a twist. A guest without proper wedding clothes gets thrown out. What does this mean? Jesus shows that while heaven is a gift, entering requires preparation, righteousness through faith, not our own merits. Through stories like this, Jesus revealed heaven not just as a future destination, but as a present reality, a divine celebration beginning now, growing like the mustard seed into something life-changing. Picture this. Jesus himself preparing a place specifically for you. Not just any place, but a home in heaven crafted with the intimate knowledge of your heart and soul. A sanctuary where peace, joy, and love abound forever. In John 14:2-3, Jesus spoke these incredible words to his disciples. "In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you. I am going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me so that you also may be where I am." Think about that. Jesus didn't just speak metaphorically here. He described heaven as a real place with many rooms, each designed intentionally by God. The language of rooms isn't just about physical space, but represents belonging, comfort, and security. Heaven isn't a distant, impersonal paradise. It's a home where you'll be truly known, welcomed, and cherished forever. And why does Jesus use the imagery of a house? Because a home is where love dwells. It's a place of connection, rest, and refuge. Imagine the feeling of coming home after a long journey, where every worry melts away and peace embraces you. Heaven is that feeling, magnified beyond anything we can comprehend. But here's what makes it even more incredible. Jesus says there are many rooms. This isn't some exclusive retreat for a privileged few. There's space for everyone who responds to God's call. No overcrowding, no shortage. It's a personal invitation for you, crafted by the Creator of the universe. And unlike the homes we know on earth, which can fall apart, be lost, or taken away, heaven's rooms are eternal. As Revelation 21:4 declares, He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Imagine that. No more suffering, no loss, and no brokenness. Just wholeness, healing, and everlasting peace in the presence of God. And beauty? Scripture tells us we can't even begin to fathom it. As 1 Corinthians 2:9 says, "No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no human mind has conceived the things God has prepared for those who love Him." If the same God who created the breathtaking wonders of earth is preparing a place for us, think of how magnificent it must be. Beauty beyond imagination, joy beyond comprehension, and the presence of God Himself filling every space with radiant glory. This is what Jesus is preparing for you, a place where love, joy, and divine perfection await. So ask yourself, are you ready to accept that invitation? To step into a place designed by the one who knows you better than anyone else ever could? Heaven isn't just a promise, it's a home prepared with you in mind. Now let's talk about something truly monumental, the greatest reward heaven offers. It's not just about mansions, streets of gold, or the beauty surrounding you. The real treasure of the Father's house is the presence of God Himself. Think about this. Jesus doesn't focus on the material aspects of heaven when He comforts His disciples. Instead, He emphasizes this profound truth, that you also may be where I am. John 14:3. That's what makes heaven truly heaven, the presence of Jesus. Imagine being fully united with Him, no longer separated by sin, doubt, or the limitations of this earthly life. This is what your soul has been longing for all along, to dwell with God forever. This isn't just a promise of proximity, like living near a celebrity. It's a relationship. The same God who walked among us as Jesus Christ, the one who healed the sick, raised the dead, and laid down His life for you, that's who you'll be with forever. Think about what that means. No more unanswered questions. No more wondering why certain things happened in life. You'll experience peace like never before, because you're with the source of peace. You'll know joy beyond comprehension, because you're face to face with the source of joy. The Apostle Paul beautifully described this ultimate reward in 1 Thessalonians 4:17. And so we will be with the Lord forever. That's the promise, a permanent, unbroken communion with God Himself. Let me ask you this. What could be better than dwelling in the loving presence of the one who created you, redeemed you, and knows every detail of your heart? Jesus didn't just describe heaven as a destination. He described it as an experience of eternal personal fellowship with God. So when Jesus said He was preparing a place for you, He wasn't just referring to bricks and mortar. He was preparing the way through His death and resurrection, so that nothing would stand between you and God. This promise isn't just about heaven being a beautiful place. It's about heaven being home, where you're finally at rest, fully loved, fully known, and eternally secure. And here's the best part. Jesus invites you to be there. The question is, will you accept that invitation? Because heaven is ready, the rooms are prepared, and the love of God is waiting to embrace you forever. Next, we'll explore who else will be there, the inhabitants of heaven. The Bible gives us breathtaking insights about the roles of angels, saints, and their eternal connection to God's glory. In Matthew 6:19-20, Jesus teaches us a crucial lesson about where to focus our hearts and minds. He says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal." This isn't just a warning about material wealth fading away. It's an invitation to focus on what's eternal. Heaven's treasures are not material things. They're the rewards of a life shaped by love, mercy, humility, and service to others. These rewards are rooted in how we live our lives on earth, and they reflect God's relational nature. When we live with love and grace, we're storing up treasures that last forever. In Luke 6:35, Jesus tells us, "Love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High." Here Jesus shows that the greatest reward is the honor of being called God's children, an eternal relationship with Him. Heaven isn't just about what we have, but about who we are in God's eyes, and who we are with one another. Heaven's rewards aren't about earthly recognition or success. They're about a life lived in alignment with God's will, reflecting His love. This is what truly qualifies us for heaven, a life of integrity, compassion, and faithfulness. Heaven is a promise for all who truly follow Jesus, but it's also a challenge. It requires us to live authentically, not just in words, but in action. It's not enough to merely call on Jesus. Jesus warns us in Matthew 7:21-23, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven." This is a sobering truth. Heaven isn't reserved for those who simply claim belief, but for those who live according to God's will, loving others, serving with humility, and forgiving as He forgave us. This challenge is our call to reflect Jesus' love in everything we do, to live lives of integrity and compassion, and to serve those around us. When we do, we not only prepare ourselves for heaven, but we also get to experience glimpses of heaven on earth. It's a life of obedience and service, living out our faith in ways that reflect the love of Jesus. Jesus' vision of heaven is clear. It's not just a future promise, but a present invitation to live with Him now. Heaven is a relationship that begins today, and every act of love, mercy, and faithfulness brings us closer to experiencing its fullness.